Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today in this video we're going to do a psychoanalysis of a very interesting film called The Village. And the reason why we should do this is because I think there is an unimaginable reality to the stories we create. And stories is actually very important, right? Even in Game of Thrones, at the end, the guy who knew all of the stories was the person who became the king, right? And so I think in stories hold ultimate truth in many sense, and this is explained with theology. Theological stories have very deeper meaning to society and the way human functions. And I think because we give so much value to theological stories, we should also give a very good amount of values to the modern storytelling and the modern stories, right? Of course, I'm not talking about the modern like extreme modern movies which has a little to no meaning and sort of lean toward hedonistic pleasure and about things. But yeah, but I think this village, the village, is it's a short film, was nominated for Oscar, and it had incredible depth. Had an incredible depth on how sins work, on how society works, how there are good parts of society, how there are bad parts of society. So let's dive into it. So here we are inside the YouTube. I think a very good way to start is to actually, yeah. So let's start. Right off the bat, you guys might see that मेरे पास recommendations नहीं आ रही हैं. It's because of this extension, Unhook. I'm using this. It's not a paid promotion or anything like. Okay, fine. So let's start right off the bat. There are few credits which I have skipped over because yeah, who watches that, right? So let's start. It's a very interesting short film of 15 minutes. Let's have a reaction. It's going to be a philosophical reaction. So let's see how much deeper meaning you guys get. And please comment down if some of the meanings I miss or misinterpret, right? Because this is what this channel is all about. This channel is about discussion of ideas in a more intellectual way, to make more people sophisticated in their discussions when they discuss about politics, right? So yeah, and I think it's very important to have intellectual discussions which are not influenced by emotions. As of right now, the society is very very polarized, right? So let's make the society less polarized and have discussions about things. So let's start with the video, right? Yeah. So I don't know how to do this. Maybe we'll just listen to the things and I'll comment. So people who haven't watched this, I do recommend you guys watch this and then come here. I know it's a lot to ask from you guys, but I'm gonna assume that you have already watched and you have successfully abided by the laws of this videos and have an imaginable capacity for attention, and your attention is not ruined by social media scrolling. So the first thing we see is that the insects have an imagine like really good uniformity, right? And ants and other insects have this unimaginable uniformity. Is one of the reasons is because of course they have hierarchies, right? This is actually very similar to human society, as human societies also have hierarchies, and but we are not as uniform, right? We are not very collectivist. We have our personal needs and gains, but ants, they're sort of like they're doing everything for their community, everything for their garden, and they still do have dominance hierarchy. And this is one thing is explained in this short seconds. Now, the next thing we see is that how the ant's gonna come around and actually lift the weight, lift an error caused by a person, and actually they're gonna make the things right again. So people gonna come collectively and solve a problem which is being faced by their society. This is something we imagine, but this is something we see in insects. But spoiler alert, not in the video of the village. So this is the representation of how society is supposed to be, right? Now the first things we see is very interesting actually. The first things we see, the people have a very big nose, right? So it sort of symbolizes how they are always trying to put their nose in other people's business. So that's something something ironic. Oh wait, I do have to check if my video is being recorded or not. So the things are being recorded and desktop audio is also being recorded. So let's go. So this is actually something actually done by covert narcissists, right? So covert narcissists, this sort of shows the tendency of covert narcissism, and there are some hypotheses about how covert narcissism is a feministic trait actually, which is, of course, very interesting. But I don't know a lot about that, so I'm not going to comment on those because it's a somewhat controversial thing in psychology. So yeah, so first thing we see is that the person, she's actually cleaning the road and giving some service to the community, and then she steals some fruits. So this is sort of covert narcissistic trait, because covert narcissists are also always are like, okay, well, I am a very shy person and I don't know how to talk to people and blah blah blah, but they actually are very narcissist people, because they're trying to exploit that fact that people might take pity on them. So that's a covert narcissist trait. So yeah, this is sort of, there is sort of a resemblance to it, but there is very a big contrast in both, where she's trying to show that she's a productive member, but she's actually trying to steal food. So, but the fact that now the few fruits which it drops is that it actually symbolizes that how people who actually are actually stealing, and they're successfully stealing a lot, they're not actually dying of hunger. They're doing it because they enjoy it, because she did stole more than she wanted, right? So that is actually the symbolism of, like, she dropped a few fruits and she didn't care about it. That's because she stole more than she wanted, actually more than she needed actually. So yeah, that's something about society, because people who steal, yeah, there are primary assumptions that people who do actually do criminal sympathy, the people who do practice criminal sympathy or have sympathies for criminal, they assume that yes, they are doing crimes because they need the specific things, and they are dying of hunger or something. But it's very interesting to understand how alcohol is almost present everywhere where the crime is. You don't have to be a very big sociologist to understand the fact that almost 90% of the crime is conducted under the influence from the victim or the criminal side. So yeah, so the people who commit crimes, they usually commit crimes not because they are dying, but rather because, one, they enjoy it, second, they don't know any better, and the third is just life. They are just evil. Yeah. And then we have a very small subset, people who actually steal, people who actually do because they are actually dying. But that is also a very bad presumption to make, and that's very rare, because the thing is that there are better alternatives than stealing to be to survive. There are better alternatives to be, like, distributing drugs or killing people. There are better alternatives, obviously. Let's start. Now, this is the priest, right? It's a priest. He's a resemblance of. He's actually, if you would think about it, the priests and pujaris and the Mohammeds, they are actually a sort of, like, people who are connecting individuals to gods. And what's God? God is a divine being, which is a symbolism of righteousness, which is symbolism of order in chaos, and it's actually symbolism of birth, right? So this is one of the things. Order is masculine, and birth, things giving birth, they're like nature, they are feminine, right? But the god is symbolism of both birth and order, which actually just means that God is actually genderless in some sense. So yeah, so priests are those people who are actually trying to connect individuals who are filled of chaos to order, which means God, and yeah. But if yeah, we're gonna see it right now. So we have a we have a lead lady who steals fruits, and then we have an alcoholic priest. And man, damn, that is something else. Because if you would really understand, these are two sins, and right, stealing is a sin because now you have stripping the people of right to have something, which is a sin in Manusmriti, is also a sin in Christianity, and also it's a sin in almost every goddamn religion. Okay. Now, see, now that's pride right there. That's seven deadly sins. That's pride right there. And the person is trying to escape. Now this person also has a lot of money, which also is a symbolism. Now because he thinks he has a lot of money, he's better than everyone. Sort of, you can see it right there in his face. So I think one of the things is it's because he. I think it must be greed, not greed exactly as greed, but I think it's this is something we call kanjusi in Hindi. I don't know what's the English translation for it. So let's say. So what's it's called? I don't know why my internet is so goddamn slow. Well, it's not working. Kanjusi in English. Wow.
Miserliness.
It's not playing.
Miserliness.
Miserliness. Wow. Well, you guys know.
Miserliness.
Wow. So that's my laptop. I think it's dying almost. Now, this is wonderful, right? So the person is actually, now he's envious, right? He's envious कि भाई उस इंसान के पास कैसा है, and but that envy was not like already there, right? So this is something I think it's actually explained in Buddhism and Christianity, is that the fact that how a sin travels to another sin, right? Like for example, if I must give, so there is a very good story of a priest going to a king, but the king, the king has a policy of the king has a policy of that the person who wants to meet him, they must go to the first door, which is actually of alcoholism, but the alcoholism is bad, right, for the priests. So the priest must not day drink, at least. Well, he can drink wine, but he cannot drink a drink. And so alcoholism, then the second thing is actually going to a prostitute. Then the third thing, it's a whole thing. Maybe sometimes I'll explain it. The stories actually explains how one sins actually leads to another, so sort of slippery slope argument, right? So his what happened was that the first thing which happened was actually greed, because he was like, oh well, he has more, I want more. And then the second thing which happened was envy. And now you're going to see how envy will actually lead to, what's the best thing? Leads to destruction of his marriage. Now see, we can see he's envious. He has this anger inside his heart. He slams his hand on the table to sort of like ask for the food. The most wonderful thing about this movie is that we see how people are not talking at all. So this is one of the reasons, right? This is one of the things, like if people stop talking, which is that's exactly what's gonna happen. So this is one of the reasons I have this channel, so people can actually talk with common sense. So now we have gluttony, right? I think gluttony. Yes. Yeah, this is gluttony, right? So the people just, he wants to eat a lot, and we can see he sort of just puts the whole bowl in his mouth. So that's gluttony right there. And now the marriage is failing because of the envy we discussed earlier. Now she has a very big nose, right, as compared to everyone in the village, and her nose is very big, so she likes to put nose in everyone's business. That's one thing. Now, one thing we see is this person, right? This person is trying to plant trees. So, in some sense, this person, now, the planting trees is actually what? It's actually a representation of how the person is actually doing something productive. It's bearing fruits. It's quite literally bearing fruits. And how do you bear fruits in your life? It's by hard work. And that is actually symbolism of, the sheer perseverance and the sheer labor it requires to plant a tree. So the first thing we see is this person is like powerful, right? This person is powerful because he's digging the holes all day, he's planting trees, he's doing something productive, and which actually makes him happy. The one thing which you would notice in any scenario such as this is because people who aren't productive, they're automatically envious. I have seen this very they have this anger inside them if you're not being productive, and if you feel like very angry, that could be one of the things. I've seen people who are not very productive, they have this tremendous anger or sort of like enviousness towards themselves. But the people who are actually productive, who are actually creating something, so this is one of the reasons musicians don't actually go into depression a lot, but those who do never come back. So yeah, because that's actually a creative depression, and this is something I think maybe I'll explain somewhere in future. Please comment, because there are a lot of things to discuss, and please comment which is the most the thing which you would like me to cover. So this is so he is doing something which bears fruit, which plants the seed for future, and that is a deed of dignity. So this person in the whole village has a dignity, and you can see his nose is not very pointy, right? He has a very small nose, so he doesn't put his nose in someone's business. So he minds his own business, and he does the hard work, he does the labor, which fruits the fruit of in the future, for the future actually. Now, what's her sin? Now that's lust right there. And if you don't think, well, it's not lust, well, it's gonna evolve in that way. So that's lust right there. And I think this idea like this is envy. I think the person is trying to put the nose in everyone's business. See, she's envious. She's yeah. See, she's envious, and she's like, yeah, I will rattle you, and I will like destroy you. Yeah, and she throws the garbage out. So yeah, that's probably one thing. The person, now in the contrast we can see one person is actually polluting the environment, and one person on the other hand is creating the environment. This is actually called Pareto distribution. So now you can almost see like Pareto distribution is actually what 80% of the people does 20% of the things, and 20% of the things 20% of the people do 80% of the things. This is for productivity. Now same is true for wealth. Now same is true for crimes. Only 20% of the people in the whole world commit 80% of the crimes. Now 80% of the people actually commits only 20% of that crimes. So that's one thing. Now this is an example of that. Now, one of the most important things which we see in this short film is this that the only person who is happy in the whole village is the person who is productive. So this is one of the reasons you should work, right? Because work has a tendency to make you happy, because when you work, you see something come to life. You could see something create value, and you connect your emotions towards it. And when it grows, you grow with it. Your emotions grow with it. You start to feel things. You start to feel dread when it doesn't work. It makes you happy to see things work out. And the only way things can work out is by you doing the things, you putting in the efforts. That's my understanding. Now we have alcoholic priest, right? Now we have a priest who has a problem with pride, and we have a people who are envious. And the thing is that, so priest is sort of like charioteer, right? We have charioteer. The priest is someone who is supposed to guide society through harsh times. The missionaries, the priests, the pujaris, the Muhammads are the people who are supposed to actually drive people through hardships towards something better, towards something good. But when the priest is crooked, the whole village gets crooked, the whole society gets crooked, right? This is one of the reasons. The Christianity has a bad image. Christianity has a bad image because they did kill a lot of girls in by saying the witch hunt, right? Yeah, they were on a witch hunt and they killed a lot of innocent people. And yeah, so when pride clouds people's judgment, it has a real tendency of making society a bad place to live in. And that's something we're going to see in upcoming time in the movie, of course. So now the next thing we see is that when everyone is free, they go to the church and they sing the song, and then nobody can wait to get the hell out of there, right? And they go home, they have nothing to do except think about others, think about what they are doing, think about what people are doing. That's one thing, and that's the reason they have such pointy nose. Now we have our next sin. That's lust, right? And lust has a very interesting nature because, in my understanding, lust is actually something very different from other sins, because lust is very difficult to confuse with love. And almost and there is a saying that almost all love starts with a very strong lust. And yeah, that's one actually very true when it comes to psychology and thinking about how human sexuality works. One of the reasons this creates an environment in which people might think lust is a good thing is because lust has an incredible amount of pleasure in it. Now that's of course the hedonistic view of the perspective. Lust has also driven human nature and human sexual drive to create more people. So without lust we would die, of course. So yeah, so that's a lot of things to discuss about lust. But here in this movie, lust is represented as something positive. Maybe that's a symbolism of how not almost all of the sins are actually inherently bad, but maybe some of those sins actually bear something productive. Maybe not everything is black and white as it might seem. And yeah, sorry, actually my recording stopped because a disk space full हो गई थी. So let's start. So we can almost see that, like, she almost falls, right? She almost falls because she has so much envy for people that she almost falls. This sort of explains the rattle tales of other, like, or rattle tales of the societies, because people, who can't help but snitch, because the fact that it actually represents the fact that snitching actually creates, it's actually bad for you, because it does not create good friendships, and it does not create good relationships around you, and it's very difficult for you to be in any kind of relationship, because if you are the rattletail, and the tattletale, not rattletail, the tattletale, and yeah, that's probably it. Now the fact that now this actually shows how alcoholic priest is hidden behind the cross, right? So this actually shows how the misdeeds of Christianity and misdeeds of churches is actually hidden behind the cross, sort of hidden behind the Christian values. And yeah, and it sort of tries to explain how not everyone is full of sins, everyone has sins inside them. And alcohol alcoholic priest hides from the society because he hides behind the cross, and behind the cross no one can see him. So that's one thing. Now, one thing I do not understand is why the person has so big of a chin, right? And I think there is a symbolic representation for it. I would love to know if there is one. So please tell me in the comments. Now we have the guy, the guy who is full of envy and greed, and yeah, and he tries to do. Now he's gonna do something. Now one thing we see is the person who is well, yeah, the one thing we see is the person who has money is actually trying to collect money as a heinous crime is being committed against him. So I don't think he would value his life over money, but I think he definitely values his money over anything else in his life. And this is sort of like, this is a representation of how some people might participate in society, because money is a lot of things but not everything, right? It's a lot of things but it's not everything, and some people might confuse those two. And now now a crime has been committed, and that's murder. Now this particular movie is actually following this seven deadly sins all around, but actually the fact that the seven deadly sins actually lead to more sins, right? So first we had envy, then we had greed, then we have what, murder. Now murder is actually a very interesting sort of idea. Why it's a sin is because in Manusmriti it's described as in that because you don't have a right to take life from others, right? And that the similar argument is put in Christian ideology and Christian philosophy, the same thing. But Islamism is actually very different. It says very different things, right? Almost all of the religions is very different, but here are some perspective. So Hinduism says yes, killing someone but for the sake of killing is bad. But if you're killing someone for to protect dharma, that's actually good. Now the same thing is said in Christianity, but in a different way. They say yes, murder is bad, but if you're committing it to protect Allah, or committing it to protect yourself, and in that manner, that's good. That's probably good. Now in Christianity, in the Old Testament, the Hebrew version, there is an idea that committing murder is a bad thing. Now the thing is that there are two different killing is good. That was the idea. Now there is two different words in Hebrew, right? Killing and murder. Killing is killing a person, but murder is a crime, right? Killing for protection, killing for protection is actually good, but murder is just killing for the sake of killing. So that's the reason it's bad. So did 7 deadly sins lead to stuff like this? This is what has been argued in this, I think, movie. Now we have couples who are having some sort of what's the best way to put it? I think affair, right? Now he's trying to investigate, because on retrospect, as well, he's having an affair, but on retrospect, he's a good person. That's what the movie is trying to tell. But good people are not always like white. They also do commit some crimes, but their crimes on retrospect will always be less than the greatest misdeed in societies. So yes, like for example, good people like Mother Teresa, it's not like that they have not committed crimes or sins in such sense, but their sins always outlast their good deeds. No, so actually their good deeds actually always outlast their sins. That's what we are trying to be as human. We try to be a good person more than we try to be a bad person. So you are a bad person, right? Just like you cannot write on a piece of paper that you're never going to be sick again. You cannot write on a piece of paper that you're never going to be sad again. Similarly, you can never write on a piece of paper that you're never going to commit a sin again. But the thing is, we all have to commit more good deeds than sins. That's one perspective. So this is one of the most beautiful things, right? Because he is the only person who utters anything out of his mouth, and maybe this tells like how good people in society try to do good things all the time, and maybe that's the reason they get in trouble, right? So no one in the society speaks here, no one in the village speaks except this person, who is sort of representation of good. Let's see how it goes, right? Now he's sort of trying to stop the murderer in some sense. Now she screams out of her lung, and the pitch is, wow, that's irritating even for me. Right? She is like an envious character. She's similar to like that king from the Game of Thrones. What was the name of that guy who killed the Sansa's father? She screams at her like she does not speak except she says murder, right? So that's one thing. And now this is the representation on how whenever society looks at one direction, the truth is somewhere else, right? And that's actually the reason things like Epstein files exist, and that's one of the reasons like these rabbit hole talks exist. And this is something conspiracy theorists tries to always exploit, because people know that wherever the mass is looking, truth is probably not there, and this is something conspiracy theorists tries to exploit in people. But yeah, their exploitation don't really work, I think. So yeah, so it's actually good to see. So if whole society says that the evil lies towards A, it's probably a good idea to think towards B and see, well, what the hell is happening here. Now we are back again. So let's see. Now, here's the thing, right? Here's the most beautiful thing. While the murderer is escaping, the person who is all like has done nothing but a good thing except few things, like having an affair. So yeah, I think this actually sort of explains how the current punishment culture, the cancel culture, exists in the society right now. We try to the people who do good things, the high a very good chance that wrong things happen with them, and people who do commit crimes, they are roaming free, right? And that sort of explains the white collar criminals and the people who do escape the justice system. But that this rarely happens, but this just happened. And yeah, and we would like to think that this happens more. The cynical perspectives might want to think that this happens more often, but yeah, it doesn't actually. But yeah, so he's sort of like escaping through jungles and deserts. He's our protagonist right here, because he's also like he's also fighting for the survival, for the crimes that he didn't commit. He's being punished for the crimes that he didn't commit, so we have a sympathy for them. So we have this mob, right? This mob that which tries to which tries to say that he's the person who committed the crime, but I don't think there will be a trial or anything like that. But yeah, that's one thing. And yeah, let's see. So I think these are the things which are very self-explanatory. Now, one of the things, everyone has a pride, right? Because everyone is like, well, we are better than you are. So they're just trying to show how awful of a person he is. Even his cellmate, who is nothing better than him, wants that that chance of having a pride. Because well, at least he didn't commit a murder. Maybe he stole something. Maybe he did something bad, but at least he didn't commit a murder. So this sort of shows the pride, the levels of pride people have. But well, yes, I'm a derogatory person, but I'm better than the person who cleans the gutter. Yes, I've probably killed a person, but I'm better than the person who killed 5 people. That's one thing. Now this is a very like the person who has killed him is now burying him, right? Now this has a very deeper meaning, of course. Why? Because the person who has killed him, now there is a deeper meaning to it, because burying someone has a meaning of that the person has ended. So the person who murdered the person is now also shoving dirt into his grave, symbolizing how he ended his life, how he ended his story, and in many perspectives. And this, yeah, that's one thing. Now it's very interesting to see, if you would just focus with me, guys. It's very interesting to see how like kids are also emitting their nature, because emitting the society they are in. So the person the girl pushes the man, and like the man also almost falls, and then he just kicks the girl. Yeah, that's just showing how kids emulate what's going around their society. Now he has successfully now this person has, oh my god, अरे pause हो जा. Now this person has committed the perfect crime, right? Sherlock Holmes. But what we see is the insects. They are on their duty, right? They are still working. They are working. They'll work no matter what. Now it's ironic to see, right? The person, and no one in the entire village ever helped in planting these trees, but they are always trying to cut it, right? Sort of like explains how people won't help you to get up, but they'll always help into getting you, putting you down. This is the irony, right? The trees he planted, the wood he grew, is now being used to hang him. He's being used to end him. Now he was planting the seeds. He was planting and planting the seeds for future, and his future is about to end from the same seeds. Now the girl actually is going to give the shovel. Now this is one of the things which Jordan Peterson talks about a lot, and it's actually how Adam and Eve story came to be, and he sort of like tries to explain how girls are the one who always illuminate and also always enlighten the man. So yeah, that's probably one thing. Now the fact that the person on the corner is like, what the hell are you doing, why are you trying to escape, but the thing is that he always also tries to escape, but yeah. Now, see, that's the one thing, right? Because now he's virtue signaling, right? Because I'm better than him, because he escaped and I do not escape. He's better. He escaped. Now you should all go kill him and blah blah. He's virtue signaling, but he is still under, like 6 feet under, right? But he does not care, because if he wanted to, if he thought, if he worked with his brain, if he used some amount of common sense, he wouldn't be in the situation right now. He could have escaped with him. But who gives a shit? Now the fact that everyone is just trying to see what's under, and no one dares to look up, that's actually is because no one is no one can think in higher level, right? Because to think up, you have to have that capacity to think outside of the box. You really have to think something better. You have to think something which is on higher level, which sort of symbolism of like height here, right? That's a symbolism of height. Now the fact that everyone is trying to look down, because that's how it is. Everyone tries to look down on each other, and that's the reason people are trying to find things in the ground, like he phased through ground or something. Now we see this girl, like she is like adamant. She is like, I'll stand here, I'll stand the whole night, I'll stand the whole day. I don't give a shit. I will kill him. I will bring justice. And now she has more pride than anyone else. and these people are full of envious, and man, I like, I hate these kind of people, like really I do. But they don't know better, so fine, they don't know any better. Now you see the paranoia, right? Like, because things things moving, no one gives a shit, but this guy gives a shit because he's paranoid. And he should be paranoid because he thought he has committed the perfect crime, but the the accuser has escaped. Now there is a real threat to his fortune, so to speak, and real threat to his reputation. Now, yeah. Now we see the anger. Now he wants to commit the crime again. He wants to be the perfect criminal. Let's see what happens. Now the thing which is absolutely funny is because this shows how he's a bully, right? He's not a criminal. He's not smart enough to be a criminal. He's just a bully. He's just a bully. Who tries to harm others people productive work. He tries to steal others people hard earned money and whatnot. It's just that fact that he is a bully. That's what this scene tries to explain. And he's just like sort of fingers him towards fingers him towards the end. And now we have the girl, right? Now this is interesting because without Eve, Adam would be like what? Adam wouldn't be anything. So yeah, that probably makes sense. Now the reason is actually now there is a hypothesis on the fact that the first sin might not have been what Eve did, but rather what Adam did, because Adam snitched on his life partner, right? And maybe that was the first sin, not the other way around. So yeah, it takes a man and a woman to do anything productive, to do anything good, and this is sort of the symbolism of it. So to remove evil from the society, we need both masculine and feminine energy to work together, and this is sort of something we see. So this person who was almost being bullied, he didn't do anything, right? But now that he sees that a woman is fighting the bully, now this is what is gonna happen, right? Now that he has seen that, like, now he knows what to do. Now he knows that he needs to fight, and who showed him he needs to fight? The girl showed him he needs to fight. And now the girl also is, but the girl showed him that he needs to fight, but girl was not able to fight herself, right? Because girls, yeah, that is how it is. Now the person now he's enlightened that he needs to fight, and his girl has been harmed, right? Now he's gonna fight, and maybe he's gonna win. And he wins by just one punch. It sort of shows how hollow bullies are, because the person who wants to who wants to fight, they probably don't. They just want to be seen as a person who just wants to fight. The bullies, they are hollow inside. When they are challenged, that's where their anger, that's where their confidence deteriorate, because they think no one's going to challenge them. Now the person almost fell, but the girl saved him. That shows how even after the success, even after fighting the evil, the man has a very good chance of going, falling. Men have very good chances of falling if they don't have women. This is one of the reasons feministic and masculine energy is very important in the society. One more thing I should explain is that the reason this sort of feministic movement started is because we thought that feminism is the feminine nature of women is actually bad, and there was we did derogatorize what women did. We did did not give enough respect to what women were doing, and this is one of the reasons women thought, well, we could do the man's work and the women's work. That was the premise, that the fact that even women don't think there is a pride in doing the feminine things, that's really destructing to human society. And this is what men are realizing right now. The gentlemen are realizing that yes, there is a pride in feminine work, like building a house, creating food. There is a great amount of pride in that, and right now they're trying to give that pride to women. But let's see how that goes. But the whole feministic nature, the whole far left feministic mob, that happened because we didn't give enough respect to women, or the propaganda was enough to make them feel that they did not get enough respect. So in many ways, men failed to give the proper respect to the feminine value of females. So this explains a lot. Like, yeah, the men and women has escaped the idiotic village, and the girl who was, very adamant that yes, I will find the culprit now, is sleeping. This sort of shows on the people who think that they are right but they are actually not right. Sort of shows their nature, because the same thing happened in Hindu Purans when Krishna was born. Now, when Krishna was born, the people who thought they are on the right side, because the soldiers of the Karagrah, which means jail, yeah, uh, yeah. So yeah, the people who thought they are on the right, the guards of the jail, actually they slept when Krishna was born, and his father was successfully made Krishna escape from that prison. So the people who think that they are on the right side while being on the wrong side, they eventually they sleep. They sleep. Now, what does the sleep means? Now, the sleep means that they eventually lose the motivation to do that good anymore, because even they know, even deep down, maybe their subconscious knows that they're not on the right side, and this does not do anything more than just giving them pride, right? And the fact that the fact that now people perceive that they are the right people, that pride is enough for them. The people who are on the right side, who think they are on the right side and are on the right side, they want to make a difference. They don't just want to be perceived as the person who is trying to make a difference. They want to be the person who is making a difference, and that doesn't let them sleep. That doesn't let them lose motivation in some sense. But we see one thing of the insects just doing their duty. Now everyone is back, and they're trying to search the sand again, which has nothing except the body of the real killer, with an evidence that this person is the accused person, right? And they're like, yeah, fine, like he died like a dog, and he's like, ah. Like, she's angry, not because maybe he got his duty, maybe he got his deed, but she's angry because she didn't get to do that, right? She wanted to kill him. In many sense, she's committing something called as a violence from the Buddhist perspective. Now, Buddhism says that if you want to kill someone, you have already committed the crime. This is something, but again, Sadhguru argues that a thought is not neither evil, neither right or the wrong. A thought is a thought. It's the action which matters. So if you think of something but you don't actually do that, it's not violence. There's something Sadhguru says, but Buddhism says if you have already committed the crime, if you think of harming someone else. So she, in some sense, is a psychologically she's a murderer, because she wanted to kill him, and because she didn't get to kill him. Now she's angry and envious. as she has always been. Now, everyone is back to their own same business, poking nose in others' business, and the alcoholic priest has returned to the church for more drinking. Now, now this scenario shows. Now, this scenario is like sort of people doing, this actually shows how people are not happy, right? They are not happy at all because one, they are not doing anything productive and their life is miserable. Another possibility is that now the few good people has left the society. Now that it's truly bad, maybe it could also show that deep down everybody knew that he's innocent, and now that everyone sort of just is tired of this. They're tired of being this miserable person, and the fact that the priest is alcoholic, that doesn't do any good either, because the charioteer is blind. So probably the whole chariot is gonna go 6 feet under or off the cliff. Now we see the man and the woman, perfect, maybe the perfect representation of God, walking, leaving the society, sort of like what Christ did, sort of like what Krishna did. They left the society. Yeah, but the insects, they are doing their duty. Now right now this shows actually now this shows that now they're not trying to remove that obstacle, right? This shows how the productivity has gone from the society. So this sort of shows that how productivity has gone from society and now everything is just miserable. Yeah, and I think this is one of the most wonderful short films that I've seen, and which has a very great meaning. And maybe this is something you guys can explain me. What does that chin meant, and how do we explain this? And maybe I got some of the interpretations wrong. I got some philosophical contexts wrong. Maybe you should explain them to me, please. Until then, I think it's a very good idea to say you guys goodbye. And I'm sorry that I haven't been uploading a lot, but that's because actually I'm trying to build a startup, and probably that's not helping the YouTube channel. But I'm trying to stay on the track, and I promise that I'm going to produce content on more speedy way. Thank you very much. See you at another day, another time.